Welcome, everybody, to this Patriots preview episode of the At the Pylon podcast. Upcoming at you this Sunday, we got Pats versus Raiders, and I'm lucky enough to be joined by Chandler Betts. Chandler, what's going on?
The disciple comes back to beat the master again.
I hope not, but
No laterals this
that's
time, please.
that
Just no
that
laterals. That's all I
yeah, it's
ask.
that I'm kind of on the same boat as you. As long as there's no disaster, it doesn't seem like this game would be any worse than the last one that we had against the Raiders. But we'll get into that and more throughout this episode. But Chandler, I want to dial things back to something we were talking about in the post-game reaction episode that came out previous this week. If you haven't already seen it, make sure to check it out. Bill Belichick, his job security was in question following last week's game. You and I talked about it, but since then, it's become more of a will rather than a should Bill Belichick get fired. Jeff Howe reporting earlier this week, actually just a couple days ago, right after we recorded our last episode, Jeff Howe titled his article, quote, "If you think Patriots owner Robert Kraft wouldn't fire Bill Belichick, you're wrong." So while last week we were talking about, well, should Belichick be fired for this performance? And we kind of settled on it may be best if he moves on, but not in a whole like firing format. Now this is becoming a real possibility, according to some of the top NFL analysts. So weigh in. What do you think? Do you think Belichick will actually get fired?
I don't, but there are people that are starting to put in bets as Bill Belichick to be the first fired head coach this year, which if
Bro.
you had told anybody that any year prior to this one would be just an absolutely absurd thought. And I really don't think that'll be the case just out of an organizational respect. But the play on the field has been bad enough to justify it. And if it continues to get even worse, which is sadly possible, I wouldn't completely put it out of the realm of possibility.
I think first fired is ridiculous. I mean, there's some coaches out here that are just they have no history to even back them.
Of course.
Imagine Belichick is the first to go. That'd be a bet that I would not be banking on.
I
But
wouldn't either,
it
especially the guy
seems
across the sideline this week.
yeah, exactly. Josh McDaniels, his former predecessor. Well, not predecessor, but I guess disciple, as you put
Disciple,
it at
yeah.
the start of the episode. He is in hot water as well in Las Vegas. And speaking of Vegas, I guess we can kind of agree that Belichick has struggled on the general manager side of things. And that came up this week surrounding his whole conversation around, oh, your job security, blah, blah, blah. A lot of reporters were asking about Jacoby Myers. Obviously, the Pats let him go in free agency this past offseason to the Las Vegas Raiders. He signed with them. I want to say, was it a 3-year deal? But it was
It was very similar to the Juju contract.
yeah,
I
it was
think
similar
like
to that,
a little
maybe a
bit
little
less.
bit more. But regardless, Belichick was being drilled with questions surrounding whether or not Juju was a priority for the Patriots in the offseason, and why wasn't he more of a priority, considering that we went out and signed a guy like Juju for around the same amount of money, a little bit cheaper. But Belichick said, oh, he was a priority. We tried to get a deal done, and apparently they got close, but not close enough. Close but no cigar, as Jacoby walks, and he's balling in Las Vegas right now, despite their struggling season.
He's a very talented player, and I feel as though based on how much priority we put or lack thereof priority we put into him, we're seeing the same kind of expected production out of Juju. And by that I mean none. Because there's a complete it feels as though this is like the second person you were going to ask to prom. This is the this is very much so the B option, and they're treating Juju as such, and he's performing as such. So can't really place blame anywhere other than Belichick for that.
And while Belichick's coaching job is in question right now, the real consensus among Patriots fans and analysts, at least, is that Belichick is not fit to be a general manager. So while Belichick right now is also focusing on trying to save his coaching job, supposedly, as rumors have swirled about him being ousted as the coach, what can he do in the lead up to the season to save his general manager gig as well?
I think that there's one thing that he can do, and it would be sell everything. And I say that because that would tie him to all of the assets that we would be getting. If you sell a Jabril Peppers, if you sell, we can't sell Judon really. If you sell all of these players that may have an early day 3, a late day 2, maybe pick, depending on the values. I expect a lot of 5th round picks for some of these players. If you can sell all of that, then you are banking that you are going to hit in this draft class. So I think that's the best way for Bill to hold on to that general manager position. And at the same time, if he holds on to the general manager position, he will still be the coach. And if he is still the coach, he will hold on to the general manager position. This has been too long for those obligations to be separated, especially in the same building. That's really important. And I don't see a world in which he lets go of one.
That's really interesting, actually, Chandler. I didn't really think about that in terms of, sure, Belichick holds both responsibilities now, but would he even accept giving up one for the other? Like that is something that I haven't even considered. If the Patriots do try to approach Bill Belichick, whether it's this offseason, personally, I think it's going to be post-season. Like I don't see Belichick having any disruption towards his job mid-season by any chance. Even if things continue to go down this hellhole that they've already been in. But if you're Robert Kraft and you come to Belichick with this opportunity, I guess, to be like, all right, look, you're going to stay the head coach. You know, you've been with us, whatever. You're a great coach. That's established. But we got to change up the general manager position. If Belichick doesn't accept that, then again, you're in hot water with the Patriots. And considering this is a circumstance that's involving possibly, in my opinion, at least, the best coach of all time, you got to walk on eggshells a bit, or else, like you said last week, the Pats could just lose the respect of everybody, including us fans.
Yeah, when you're that great, you see it across a bunch of different coaches. Sean Payton, a lot of these other coaches, he was the first one that came to mind, really want complete control of their organization. They want complete control of their roster because they know that they're such great coaches. They know what they want to see in their roster construction. And Belichick, the coach, and Belichick, the GM, haven't been on the same page for the past couple of years. But in terms of I don't want to say an ego, but such an earned reputation, I don't think that he would be able to walk that back and still be as confident or even invested in his teams.
That's a good point that you make. And I guess before we pivot to move on to the Las Vegas Raiders, who are the Patriots Week 6 matchup coming up this week, I kind of want to take a look ahead to the rest of the season, because it seems like this is a point in the year right now where the Patriots are in a position that they've never been in before. They've never been this bottom barrel of the league, at least in my life and yours. It's never happened throughout the course of either of our lives. So in considering that, let's walk through the rest of the Patriots schedule really fast and go through a best case scenario and a worst case scenario. I'll kind of read off the teams to you, Chandler. We'll do your best case scenario first in terms of if everything goes right for the Patriots, what games can they win out of the games they have left? And then I guess a worst case scenario we'll go through as well. And then I'll kind of jump through it after. But to start us off, let's start at this week's contest. Are we beating the Raiders in our best case scenario?
Best case scenario, yeah, we can.
What about the Bills Week 7?
No chance. That is a loss.
Then Week 8 against the Dolphins, we're on the road.
We know how much I love this Miami team. No chance.
Week 9, we're back at home against the Commanders. And wait, where are we at right now? Let's keep track of the record.
Oh, good point. Yes.
You have us 1-2 in our best case scenario.
Yes, from this point on, 1 and 2.
Okay, so that makes us what?
2 and 5.
2 and 5. Okay.
Am I right?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Wait, what are we right now? We're 1 and 4.
2 and 4. So 1 and
2 and 6. 2 and 6.
Okay.
All right.
Best case scenario, Washington can be a win.
All right, so 3 and 6. What about the Colts in Germany?
I don't think that Anthony Richardson will be back, though I love Gardner Minshew. I think that could be a win.
Okay, 4 and 6 in our best case scenario. Week 11, we got to bye. We can break and cry.
Yeah.
Week 6, we have the Giants.
The Giants also stink, so it could be a win.
Okay, now we're 5 and 6.
Okay.
Chargers.
Nope.
5 and 7. Okay. Steelers on the road, 8-15 Sunday Night Football, I think.
The Steelers, again, they also stink, so it's possible.
Okay, wait. So now we're 6 and 8. Oh,
yep,
God. I hope we're not losing count.
Right.
Okay, good. Chiefs at home. I'm going to this game. This is going to be brutal.
I'm so sorry, Nick. That's no chance.
6-9. Now we got Broncos on the road on Christmas Eve.
They also stink. So again, it's possible.
Okay, so now we're 7-9. In our last game of the season. Oh no, we got the Bills still.
No chance.
Okay, so wait, what? I did this wrong.
There's one more game, and it's the Jets, and the Jets are going to be it could be. I think Rodgers actually might be back by that point. So I will actually say no, which would then be 7-10.
7-10.
I believe.
So our best case scenario for you is 7-10.
Yeah.
Why don't we steam through the games? Because I could assume what your worst case scenario is going to look like, but just for laughs' sake,
the content, yeah.
Yeah, for the content, we'll roll through it. Week 6, Raiders.
L.
Okay. Week 7, Bills.
L.
Dolphins.
L.
Commanders.
Loss.
Colts.
Defeat.
Bye.
Cry.
Then Giants. Cry.
Subjugation.
Giants.
Subjugation. Loss.
Chargers.
Crumbling.
Pittsburgh
Loss.
Steelers.
Cry again.
Chiefs.
Mahomes. Loss.
Broncos.
Let's ride. Loss.
Buffalo Bills.
I don't have a funny one for this one. Loss.
And the Jets.
Brees Hall could single-handedly destroy our whole organization. Loss.
So 1-16 is your worst case scenario.
Yes,
wow.
It is, and it's possible.
We better have number 1 overall pick there in that case.
I'd
Bears better get a couple W's.
Sad.
Now,
Panthers too, yeah.
If I was going through it, here's my little best case scenario.
I can read them off to you if you'd like.
That'd be nice, and you can keep track of the record. Right now, we're at 1-4.
1-4. Raiders.
I think we're winning.
Okay.
In our best case scenario, that is.
Yes. Bills.
No.
Okay.
Sorry,
Miami?
guys. No.
All right. Washington.
Yes.
All right. Indianapolis.
Yes.
The Giants.
Yes.
All right. The Chargers.
I think we can win that game. Best case scenario.
Steelers.
I think we're winning that game. Best case scenario.
Okay. Chiefs.
No, even though I'll be there, my presence won't be enough.
Sadly, get on the sideline. Broncos.
Broncos are winning.
Okay. Bills.
Are we on the road or away? Home.
Away at Buffalo.
No, we're not. No.
Okay. And Jets.
Jets. I'll take the W.
Okay, so that is 9-win, 9-8 season.
Wow.
As your best case scenario.
And that's bad.
Yeah. All right.
Worst case scenario, I'm going through.
Case.
I think we'll lose them all. I don't even have to go through it.
Here we go. So on the same.
Our worst case scenario is that we lose every single game. And what's sad, Chandler, you said this.
Is that actually the best case scenario? Is that actually the best case scenario, though?
I guess. I mean, it could be in terms of a draft pick perspective, but from the team's perspective, it'd probably be the worst. At least if you're anybody in the Patriots front office, you're probably getting your face ripped off. But
everyone's gone.
But in your case, Chandler, you said that our worst case scenario is something that's possible. And I actually can't believe it, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's possible that we lose every single game that we have left in the season. Maybe even if we lose every single game from now on and we get Bills week 17, there's a chance that the Bills just rest their players and we win that game. So maybe then we're like 2-15, but still that's a long shot to even say that we could win that considering our current circumstances. And with that, why don't we transition to this week's game, which in our best case scenario, we both had us winning against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, we've talked about it ever since last week. Actually, we were talking about it. Raiders game last season, the laterals, the disaster, the Chandler Jones running over Mac Jones for the touchdown to finish the game off for the Patriots. That was the beginning of the end for New England as we knew them. Ever since that game, it's been doomsday for the New England Patriots. Going into this game, how, I guess, important is it to kind of conquer those demons? Is it something that's even possible to kind of go back into Vegas, reset from where everything fell apart last year and trickled off into this year so far? Is it possible to turn things around and start maybe trucking towards that best case scenario that we talked about?
It's definitely possible. I'm not sure how much weight the team is going to place in last year's loss, considering that we absolutely should have won that game. I don't think there's a big mental hurdle. They're professional athletes. A lot of the players from that team aren't there anymore. Specifically, Jacoby Myers. He's going to be on the other side, which is very funny. He was already given touchdowns to the Raiders before he was even signed to them.
Yeah.
But I think it's very possible that we do come out of this game with a win. These are two very, very bad teams. Josh McDaniels somehow has 2 wins, but that is after playing a Broncos team which severely struggled in the first week, only putting up 16 points to the Raiders 17, and a Jordan Love team that has struggled a lot off the eye test, whether that be on paper or just on the film. So much so that Vegas currently sits at 30th in all football for average score causing plays a game at 2.8 plays that result in scores, I suppose is what the stat is. Who's last in that stat?
Wow, what a shocker.
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, so on average we have 2.5 scoring plays a game. That's what the stat is.
That's bad.
That's very bad. Yeah, catastrophically bad. However, they, being the Raiders, aren't much better. Jimmy G has only played 4 games because he was injured for one where they had Aiden O'Connell play. Shout out my Purdue people, Andrew.
Shout out Donis.
Shout out Donis. But in that game, even AOC had an interception. But Jimmy G in 4 games, 6 touchdowns, 7 picks, so he's almost averaging 2 a game, and a decent QBR of 82.7, and 2 wins. 2 wins is the important stat there. But this is still not looking good because if those stats didn't sound good to you, let's talk about some advanced stats for Mac right now. QB efficiency between the numbers. That's just literally talking about if you look at the field, all throws that happen in between the numbers, in the middle of the field. Top of the league is Brock Purdy in terms of expected points added per throw, per attempt. That is 0.7 expected points added for Brock Purdy, which is very high. The next closest is Lamar Jackson at 0.43. That's an incredibly high number. Purdy has been incredible this season. 25 out of these 32 evaluated quarterbacks have positive efficiencies in between the numbers.
I don't
Mac
like
Jones
where this is going.
is not at last. He's 29th, but at minus or negative 0.11. Very bad. That is almost a full percentage point swing, almost a full point swing actually per attempt between Purdy and Mac. So I don't want to hear anyone ever say that Mac Jones would be Brock Purdy in that offense. And the more difficult throws, and the thing that we've always had questions about Mac, or at least I can say I've always had questions about Mac for, throws outside the numbers. That's where you need to have a really strong arm, really good relationship with your receivers, and a great scheme.
And to our viewers, that's like the outside of the field.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. If you look at the numbers on the field, what I just said is everything in the middle of that, and then outside is just everything between the sideline and the numbers. So that's really what a good quarterback makes their money. What separates the good from the great. Mm-hmm. Brock Purdy again is top. Actually has a higher percentage, which is very impressive.
Wow.
0.73 outside the hashes, which is the most important thing that I've gathered out of this entire stat field. Very cool. Again, 25 of the quarterbacks of the 32 measured are positive. Mac Jones, this time he is last. 32 out of 32 at a negative 0.16. So essentially what that tells you, every time Mac Jones throws the ball, we are more likely to lose. And what we see on the eye test, every time we run the ball, we're more likely to lose. What does that tell you? Every time the offense is on the field, we're more likely to lose.
Yeah.
That's very, very bad. Obviously, this is not going well. And if we couple that with the Belichick history against his disciples, as I alluded to in the intro, Bill Belichick is 18-20 against his former coaches and players, which is a 47% win rate compared to his total career win rate, which is 67%.
20% drop off.
Really
That's
drastic
crazy.
thing. Yeah, if we harken back to Matt Patricia beating us with the Lions and then getting fired almost immediately after, McDaniels beating us last year, McDaniels, I believe, beating us when he was in Denver. This is not, everything is spelling for a very bad performance and a very bad game of football this Sunday.
And that's a good point that you make, Chandler, about McDaniels and even Patricia's past, who Belichick have been unable to beat. These are not like superstar coaches. Most of
Oh,
Belichick's disciples have either come back to him or have been fired and sent back to the college levels. I mean, McDaniels is really holding a job right now. He's one of the only ones, at least, I guess, prominent disciples. You can consider
Vrabel.
Vrabel,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, he never really coached with Belichick.
Of course not, yeah.
So, considering like former coaching staff that were under Bill Belichick, McDaniels is the only one that holds a job right now, and it's on the line, to say the least.
Yeah.
Patricia is in the depths of the Eagles' defensive coaching system, and the list goes on and on and on of how
Bill
many have
O'Brien.
disappointed. Yeah, Bill O'Brien is back with the Pats. And it's just a clear fact that people have disappointed outside of New England, but Belichick still can't beat them whenever it comes time to play them.
Yep.
When it comes to the Raiders' perspective, they've obviously not looked good this year. That's a clear fact. But considering Chandler's stats, you can't really give New England any benefit of the doubt here because every time you and I have seemed to do that throughout this season, Chandler, it's always bitten us in the behind because they always seem to disappoint. Last week, I should say, we thought that that Saints game was clearly winnable.
That was
I
the
was
get
very,
back game.
it
That was the game that
was,
we were going to get back on track. They were the cupcake team. Little did we
yeah,
know we're the cupcake team now.
exactly. And some would say that the Raiders are even more so of a cupcake team than the Saints are.
I
Yet
definitely
the
would.
feeling in New England this week is no better than last week. It just keeps getting worse. And with that, let's turn to kind of look at the Patriots a little bit more specifically going into this game. First, let's just read off the IR, just at least some of the pivotal aspects of it, because the IR is stock full right now. There's plenty of players on the injury report this week. Juwan Bentley was limited with a shoulder injury. He left in the fourth quarter of last game. Majority of that was just precautionary measures. He should be okay to play. Jabril Peppers, he left the game early last week against the Saints. Turns out that it was a cramp-related exit to the game, so he should be fine for Sunday. Juju Smith-Schuster, Demario Pop Douglas, both out with concussions. That's going to be a blow to our already weak wide receiver core with Pop Douglas, who has been really our only dynamic wide receiver so far this year. Josh Uche is another one limited with a knee injury. A key note to make, Judon, who has that bicep tear on his right arm, is not yet on IR, at least long-term IR. So I guess, still in the mix. I doubt he's going to come back this season, but just something to note. And Tyquan Thornton is back at practice. A 21-day clock to return begins now. And that could be helpful for the Patriots, who have been lacking at the wide receiver position. Maybe he can come back and make something happen. But another point to discuss, Mac Jones. A lot of questions surrounding him last week, Chandler. Bill Belichick came out and said, alongside Bill O'Brien, that they are sticking with him at quarterback one. What are your thoughts on Mac going into this week? He's had two of his worst career games so far these past 2 weeks. What does he got to do? It seems that he has the coaching staff behind him, which at least is a step in the right direction, but he has almost no else confidence in the rest of New England and the locker room.
So my thought is that Mac Jones gives you the best chance to win a football game based on the quarterbacks on our roster, which says absolutely nothing, but that is the case. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends like to say, Zappy's got grit. Let's put him in. No, he's not a good quarterback. He's a fringe NFL player at all, let alone, like, he literally did not make our original team. He's only been elevated because we couldn't figure anything else out better.
Yep.
Malik Cunningham hasn't even been getting reps as a quarterback, to my knowledge, is starting to, and throughout the course of the preseason was even transitioning to play wide receiver. So do we have another choice? Not really. And I'm actually in full support of it because, as I said last episode, you can't break something that's already broken. And we're well on the path to go 1-16, to go 2-15, 3-14 would probably get the job done too. Give them some leeway to maybe have a fluke good game every once in a while. But I think that this is the right decision. I think it's the only decision at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And despite the coaching staff finally giving Mac that confidence that he could have definitely used last year, we saw.
Let's not use that word. He absolutely has no confidence right now. This is not them inspiring confidence in him. This is them acquiescing that there is nothing better. I'm sure that
I
there is
guess, yeah.
no reason on the field for Mac Jones to drop back and think, wow, this is going to be a great throw that I'm about to make. No, that hasn't happened, and that's not going to happen. He
No, he
doesn't have the
doesn't.
confidence. Yeah.
He doesn't have confidence in himself. It just seems
No.
that the coaching staff is finally putting confidence in him,
Yeah,
which
big
is
air quotes,
something
but
that
yeah.
if they pretended to do that last year, it could have been saving grace to Mac
Sure.
when he
Yeah.
was faced off against Zappy in this so-called quarterback competition, which I thought shouldn't have even existed in the first place.
Yeah.
But regardless, he doesn't have any of the backing from the rest of the locker room. It seems like Hunter Henry is really the only person on the Patriots offense right now that is in support of Mac, with the entire defense supposedly behind the scenes, according to other sources. They're all disgruntled and frustrated with the way that the Patriots offense has been performing, which no surprise. It's been horrible. Jonathan Jones, in a press conference this week following one of the practices, was asked about togetherness. Mike Reese asked him, "How together do you see the team being right now given the adversity?" Jonathan Jones says, quote, "Together. Honestly, I think it's one of those things we know we haven't performed well, but we also know we have good players and a good team. With all that being said, we all know it does us no good to be a team and good players when you're not going out there and performing on Sundays." Now, you can say that this supposed portrayal of confidence in the Patriots is just a shtick, but they continue to express it week after week. And in a lot of cases, Chandler, you're right in the case where they don't have any other option. But when you're faced in such a disgruntled position as the Patriots are in right now, it's probably one of the most controversial times in team history. How long can you hold that frustration in until things start to boil over and get ugly?
How much uglier can it get than it currently is? I don't think that the locker room environment is helping us right now. If it is, I really don't want to see what this team is like with a lot of disharmony. I think that the leaders need to be the best players on your team. And Slater still has it. David Andrews, like I alluded to. Can you lead by example? Can you lead by voice if you can't lead by example anymore? And we're seeing that we don't have anybody really other than the special teams unit leading by example. So how can one lead by voice at that point?
That's, I guess, a great point to close on. I have no other addition to that. You said it perfectly. So with that, let's move into our keys heading into the game versus the Raiders this upcoming weekend. So Chandler, you want to start us off? I actually forgot that I had to make a score still, so I'm going to dive into that.
Sure, let's do it. My first key of the week is going to be that we need to win the turnover battle. Mac Jones has thrown 5 touchdowns this year and 3 touchdowns to the other team. So very much so need to capitalize on Jimmy Garoppolo's almost 2 interceptions a game. If we can win the turnover battle, that puts us in a pretty solid position. The next one is going to be that we need to win the field position battle. That's sort of similar to the turnover battle because we need to figure out how to get short fields because as we saw last week with a maximum of a 35-yard drive, we are really having struggles in moving the ball. So if we can successfully win the field position battle, maybe we force a bad punt, maybe not a blocked punt, but force a bad punt. If we can have a good performance from Behringer, if we can really just capitalize on getting a short field as much as possible, and in general, not giving them a short field, that is going to be really important for us to getting a win here. The last one, this is just involving us scoring points in general. Get to the red zone. If we get to the red zone and we follow my 2 previous keys, we'll come out with at least 3 points, which would tie the best we've done for the past. That would be 100% of the points we got the last 2 weeks. That'd be so cool. That would be so cool. Hey, on the bright side, how many teams can say that they, with 1 score, can beat what they've done the last 2 weeks? 200% of their last week's score. That'd be so cool. I'd love to see that. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we'll see. I'll give my score prediction after your keys.
Yeah, Chandler, and I guess before I give my keys, it's kind of sad to see how far we've come in terms of these keys. Like at this point, it seems like we're just grasping at straws of, oh, can we get a touchdown this week? Maybe can we not throw a pick 6 this week? And I guess that's kind of like where my keys fall. Let's start with this first one. The O-line's got to protect Mac Jones. I've been asking for this since week 1 when I actually had confidence in this team. Let me just pull up some stats that I saw this past week. For the Mac Jones defenders, says Savage Sports on X. Patriots wide receivers averaged the least amount of separation on targets in the NFL with 3.1 yards, and that certainly doesn't help you when the offensive line has a pass block win rate of 39.7%,
Oh, wow,
which is the worst in the NFL. Now, just to put that in perspective, Tom Brady appeared in the Super Bowl 48% of the time in his career. The Patriots offensive line has a pass block win rate of 39.7%, the worst in the NFL. It is more likely that Tom Brady would play in a Super Bowl in any given year than it is that our offensive line would win a pass rep. That is probably the most depressing thing I've seen all week.
Wow.
And with that, just give us some protection. Give Mac a couple seconds to throw. I think it's going to make a difference. Second, run to the outside. With our offensive line struggles comes the absolute atrocity that running the ball down the middle has been this year. Stop doing it. Stop trying to drive the ball down the middle. It's not working. We've seen it many times. First, second, third down, nowhere we go, and we end up punting the ball. So just cut to the outside. Structure it in a way where it looks like you're going to run down the middle. Do a couple runs outside. Maybe throw in some jet sweeps. I remember when Kendrick Bourne was doing that last year in the very minimal role that he had with the offense. Why not just throw him a bone and give him that this year? Give him something because those runs down the middle are not working. Finally, don't get more than 2 3-and-outs. Last week, the Patriots had 5 3-and-outs and 2 turnovers on downs, which were basically 4-and-outs because we didn't even get a first down on any of those. And that was on 14 possessions, meaning that 7 out of the 14 possessions saw 0 first downs from the Patriots, leading to either punts or turnovers on downs. Just limit it. Get down the field. Give your defense a break. Win some sort of possession battle in this game, because if you can't do that, then you got no chance in this game, even against the Raiders, who have struggled. But with that, Chandler, let's throw to you. What is your score prediction heading into this week?
All right. I have been changing. God. I have been consistently changing it. It was worse. It was worse at one point than what it is right now.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty bad now that I'm looking in the doc.
Yes. So my score prediction is obviously going to be a Patriots loss. And that's not saying it's obviously going to be a loss, but my prediction is obviously a loss. I think the Patriots are going to really struggle with Hunter Renfrow. I think they're really going to struggle with Devontae Adams. I think that Josh Jacobs is probably going to have a resurgence kind of game because, like I said before, we come into this week thinking, the Raiders stink. We come in last week saying, Saints offense stinks. This is our chance to get back. No. These other teams look at us as the chance to get back on track. This is a 2-3 team. They can go 500 with a win right here, and I think they're going to do that pretty comfortably in a 38-9 loss for the Patriots.
Well, I am on the same boat as you now, Chandler. I also have the Patriots losing this week, and I'm going to have them losing until they get a win themselves. Until the Pats can prove to me that, all right, Nick, you were wrong. We won this week. I'm picking us to lose every single game from this point on. My score prediction this week, 28-10 in favor of the Raiders. I have us scoring a touchdown just for my own personal sanity because
I wanted to. I couldn't do it, though.
If we don't score a touchdown, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue watching for the rest of the season, but let's just hope that we do, but we're still going to lose by a good amount of scores. I have the final score sitting at 28-10. But with that, try your best to enjoy the game this weekend, Pats Nation, because it is not going to be easy. Most likely,
what you should do to watch some good football on Saturday, watch the Washington Huskies versus Oregon Ducks game, because next episode I will be covering the winning quarterback in the start of my draft season. Michael Penix Jr. on Washington and Bo Nix on Oregon. Whoever wins, I'll do a deep dive and cover them about how they could be the next Patriots quarterback.
That is a good point, Chandler. Starting on next week's preview episode, we're going to have Chandler previewing the future because this season is not looking any good. But until then, we'll see you back here on Monday for our post-game reaction episode for the Pats versus Raiders game. Until then, try your best to enjoy watching it. If not, turn to college football. Maybe that's a safer option. But from the At the Pylon podcast, alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakas. We'll see you back here on Monday. Bye, everybody.